And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the DoDcast Postgame Show. I'm your host, District on Deck co-editor Ricky Keeler, and if you liked a really close, high-intensity, October-like baseball game, tonight was your night, but it wasn't the Washington Nationals' night. They struck out 17 times against Brewers pitching, and Tanner Roark, who arguably had his best game of the season, made one mistake, and the one mistake backfires. Probably one of the toughest losses you can have as a starting pitcher. I don't think it's quite Rich Hill blow a no-hitter in the 10th inning, lose the game tough, but it's pretty close as the Brewers take game 2 of the series 1-0. They've won the first 2 games of the series. And if you're the Nationals, you could say, yes, it's one game. You could say that the magic number's down to 14, so what's the big deal? These are kind of games you have to win in October. You're not going to win 10-8 every night. You're not going to have great offensive innings every night. When you get great pitching like you do from Tanner Roark, you have to win. And for the Nationals to really just lay an egg with men in scoring position, not even put the ball in play. Think of it this way. Out of 27 outs, they struck out 17 times. They only made 10 outs with the ball in play, and I think Kendrick had a double play on one of them. So really, that's like 8 outs. Really a frustrating night for the Nats. And yes, Anthony Rendon had the night off, and Adam Lind came in the game late and he struck out. But I think there's a lot of negatives you can take from this. And if you're looking at the Brewers right now, they can't beat Kyle Davies. They can't beat Jimmy Nelson. And if you play Milwaukee in a best of 5, that's who you're playing. That's who you have to beat. And the Nats didn't do that tonight. So feel free to share your frustrations or talk about the game tonight here in the chat on the YouTube page. You can also tweet me on Twitter at DistrictOnDeck and at Rickinator555. So we want to get you involved throughout the night. Let's look at the totals. Not a lot of totals in this one. You saw a combined 28 strikeouts in this game. So you're talking about this new age of baseball where it's home runs and strikeouts. It's that kind of game. Nationals get no runs on 3 hits, no errors. The Brewers 1 run on 6 hits, 1 error. The 1 error coming on a Stephen Vogt throwing error, which we'll get into. Jimmy Nelson gets the win, 7 innings, 3 hits, 11 strikeouts, 3 walks. He goes to 11-6. Tanner Roark, the loss, he goes to 11-9, but really didn't deserve to lose. 7 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, struck out 10. Second time he's done that this year, and walked 1. And Corey Knebel, pitching on his 3rd day in a row, gets the 30-second save, strikes out the side in the 9th despite walking Jason Worth. I was surprised they used Knebel in this game, but he only threw 8 pitches last night. And we talked about it yesterday. You got to win the battle. Sometimes you got to lose the battle to win the war. Well, when you only make a closer throw 8 pitches, that allows Craig Counsell to use him a 3rd day in a row. Milwaukee's in a pennant race. And quite frankly, they're playing like the team in the pennant race. Again, I'm not saying the Nats aren't playing hard. I do believe they are. But Milwaukee's trying with the big intensity they have to get in the postseason. And if Colorado loses tonight, the Brewers are only a game and a half back in the wild card race. So they are very much in the thick of things. And Craig Counsell's done a nice job for it. We will get it, Seth. We'll get into Verlander, of course. That 20 minutes after we got off the DoDcast last night, Justin Verlander gets traded to the Astros. And, of course, we will pray for Hurricane Irma as that continues to get closer. But Seth giving us the weather update there. That's a scary situation, too. So let's take a look at this game. Really, I think let's start with the positives. I like to start positive. I like to be the positive one. You may see me as more in a negative mood tonight, but that's really what this game entailed. And it's Tanner Roark. The second half of the season, he's been a much different pitcher. He's painting the corners with his fastball. He's using his breaking ball well. And really, the one mistake he made was with his curveball. He hung a 2-1 curve to Neil Walker, who crushed one to right field, gave the Brewers a 1-0 lead. And, of course, it didn't look back. But the one inning I liked from him, you got to go back to the 6th inning. Milwaukee got a double from Domingo Santana. Oh, not the 6th inning, the 5th inning, excuse me. Santana gets the double. Stephen Vogt gets a base hit. Jonathan Villar gets a weird bunt base hit where Zimmerman tries to throw the ball to 3rd, nearly hits Tanner Roark with the ball. So it's bases loaded, nobody out. Oswaldo Orlando Arcia comes up, and probably one of the weirdest swinging bunt 2-3 double plays you're ever going to see, and give Lobaton credit for getting the out at first base in addition to stepping on the plate. Then Roark faces Jimmy Nelson. He gets behind him 3-1 in the count, and you're flashing back to last night where Gio couldn't get Zach Davies out, and that backfired on him. But Roark hung in there. He struck out Nelson. And there's a little Houdini magic there from Roark, but sometimes you need that. And that was really the toughest inning he had all night outside of the first inning. He used the curve well, used the changeup well, used the slider well, used the fastball well. And ever since the All-Star break, he has been a much different pitcher. I think he's come back to being that trustworthy guy as the fourth starter. I mean, you're looking at a potential postseason series where you have 4 trustworthy starters. And that's a good thing to have. So I think the Nats pitching is in really good shape. Gio had a rough night last night, but Roark saved the bullpen pretty much. It did have to use Sammy Solis in the 8th, and Solis got a couple of outs. Brandon Kinsler came in, gave up a base hit to Hernan Perez, and Travis Shaw took one deep to center to get but Taylor made the catch at the wall. Taylor also made a catch at the wall on a Jesus Aguilar pinch hit moonshot that somehow stayed in the park. Milwaukee definitely has these home run power hitters. We haven't even seen Eric Thames yet in this series. But the Nats bullpen at least kept it 1-0. But I think the story of this game is the offense. And I know this offense pretty much is in as best shape as it can be, minus Bryce Harper right now. And Trey Turner did a good job at least getting on base with a walk and then stealing second and then going to third on a pass ball in the 3rd inning. And that's the kind of situation where you need to score runs when Verdifo works a walk. And they just have terrible at-bats. Daniel Murphy strikes out in 3 pitches. Murphy struck out 3 times tonight. Just the 2nd time he's done that in his career. Ryan Zimmerman gets hit by a pitch, and then Howie Kendrick strikes out on 4 pitches. And then Jason Ward strikes out on a foul tip where he's chasing a knuckle curve on a 3-2 pitch. So you go back to those situations. Then you look at the inning prior to that. I think the inning prior to that, not quite as bad, but it's pretty bad. Kendrick gets a base hit. And then when Taylor up, Kendrick steals second, Vogt throws it away. So Kendrick's at third with 1 out. Got to get the runs home there. Michael Taylor strikes out. Yeah, Jose Lobaton drew a nice walk, but then Tanner Roark flew out to left, although I don't think you should expect Tanner Roark to get a base hit all the time in that situation. But it's about when you have runners in scoring position with less than 2 outs, you have to do everything you can to get the runner home, whether that's hitting the ball to the right side, hitting a fly ball, doing the little things. And that's something that when you get to October and you play these kind of games, you need to do those things correctly. It's not about hitting home runs. It's about doing the small ball things to score. Strikeouts don't help at all. That's probably the worst thing you can do. And you got to give a lot of credit to Jimmy Nelson, give a lot of credit to the Brewers relievers because Josh Hader throws gas, and I love the movement on his fastball, and Knebel looked great for a 3rd day in a row, as I mentioned earlier. This offense could do better. There's no question about it. And they had a bad night. Probably one of their worst nights of the season, I would say. I would think outside of when they got 1 hit by Alex Meyer, I think that's right up there. That's where Daniel Murphy's got to deliver. Zimmerman's got to deliver. He had a hit in the 6th. That was the Nats' last hit of the night. But he at least got in the hit column. And you can tell when this offense doesn't have Anthony Rendon, when this offense needs Michael Taylor to get it going, Matt Wieters is out of the lineup because he's feeling sore, and that's why Roddy Reed gets the call-up. And congratulations to him. He's definitely deserved it. Pedro Severino, of course, will be here later next week when the Syracuse season ends. So it's not really an indictment on Severino that Reed is here, but good, at least the Nats get him some experience at the big league level. But I'm not a huge fan of Howie Kendrick in the 5 spot. And maybe now I'm nitpicking at Dusty Baker's lineup. And Jason Ward, to me, should hit second whenever he's in the lineup. And I love what Wilmer Defoe's done this year. He's been probably one of their unsung heroes this season with his versatility, with his speed, good defense. He's done everything you could ask him to. He's not a 2-hitter. He's not a 2-hitter. To me, Jason Ward should hit second. And this is where he missed Bryce Harper. Because if you had Bryce Harper hitting third, Murphy backs up a spot. Zimmerman backs up a spot. Rendon backs up a spot. And Ron and I talk about this off there all the time. And he wrote the article about surviving Bryce Harper's injury. I'm not so sure they can win a best-of-5 without Bryce Harper. I think he makes that much of a difference. And you saw tonight, without Bryce Harper, what this offense sometimes can look like. That's the danger of what can happen. So, to me, when looking at this team, again, there's a lot of good things they're doing. I don't think you panic after one game like this. It's just a bad night. But as FP pointed out during the game, these are the kind of games you got to win. These are the kind of games you're going to be in October against Milwaukee or against Chicago. And that's what's going to get this team over the hump. If they're going to finally win that best of 5, it's about getting the runners home with men's scoring position. And over the last month, I feel like there have been a lot of games they haven't done that. 0 for 6, they left 7 on base, 4 of them with 2 outs. But most of those situations, they had less than 2 outs. And that's where you have to do the things that don't show up on the box score. But a sac fly is just as good as a home run. Especially with a guy like Nelson on the mound. 1 run is important. And you got the sense right when they didn't get that hit in the 3rd inning, they waste their chance. Because Nelson started to get comfortable. He used his fastball well. His breaking ball was nasty. His slider was nasty. And he's been one of the better pitchers in the league since the break. I think he's like top 5 in terms of strikeouts since that point. Davies has 16 wins. Chase Anderson's been really good. So when you go up against a pitching staff that I would say is similar. I would say the Nats right now, if you go 1 through 4, are probably even with the Dodgers. It's getting those hits in small situations that's going to get it done. But I think, again, Roark was great. I can't really find much with the offense today. I mean, you had 1 through 6 all strike out at least twice. You're rarely ever going to see that with this team. But I think on the plus side, Roark was really good, really bad, and the bullpen was good. Looking at some news today, Nats, of course, made some 40-man roster moves. It's September 1st, so the rosters can expand. Ryan Madson is back with the team. He is not available to pitch yet. But remember, you don't really need the DL anymore at this point because you can just call up guys anyway. So Madson's back. Andy Romero's back. Eric Fetty is back. And I think the most intriguing one is Roddy Reed being back up with the team. Reed, of course, he had never been to a major league game before today, so he gets to have that experience tonight. He was hitting the ball well at Double-A Harrisburg. He's got good power. I wrote about him a couple weeks ago. His defense is still a work in progress, but a lot of people, as I saw a tweet, I think it was, I want to get the tweet right from who it was from. I want to say Todd Davis tweeted this out. I'm going to get that for you guys real quick because I don't want to get the wrong tweet here. But it was about the whole Reed-Severino concept. And as I take a look here, there we go. Todd Davis from the Washington Times tweeted earlier today, talking to folks in the organization, they think he is well ahead of Severino at the plate, and that's true. You look at Pedro Severino's numbers at AAA, they're not very good. Now, he did a nice job last year stepping in the postseason. I also think it tells you, yes, they need the extra catcher because Matt Wieters is feeling sore. Jose Lobaton is not very good. I mean, I don't know how Lobaton has stayed the backup catcher all year long. I mean, he's a decent pitch framer. I get that. Even that struggles at times. And they just don't win when he plays. And now that's not all his fault. You hate looking at that stat. I don't have the exact number. But it seems like whenever Jose Lobaton plays, they usually find a way to lose. And that's Matt Wieters hasn't had a great year. I understand that. And you have to have 2 good catchers. But I think they need a reliable backup catcher. Whether that's getting Severino more at bats when he comes up after the minor league season ends, whether that Reed getting an opportunity. Jose Lobaton, to me, you got to start phasing out his at bats. He's not a reliable backup catcher. And to me, if Pedro Severino plays well in September, I'd make him the backup catcher over Lobaton. I really have no problem with it in the postseason. That's how bad Lobaton's been this year. Judo says in 2013, Kershaw homered versus the Giants, complete game shutout. Mabum did against the Nats in 2015, and Strauss obviously did it the other day. So in 2019, a Marlins pitcher will do it against someone. I like that stat. I was not here for that Wednesday. Maybe now you got to get Ron back for the weekend because they did well when I wasn't here. Usually it's the opposite. So maybe I'm hitting a little losing streak. But Steven Strasburg, I thought, was excellent on Wednesday. And that was a great sign because I had a little bit of hesitancy from Strasburg Judo going into that game because of the cramps he had in Houston. He's had a couple of those games where the cramps happened this year. The injury, of course, in Arizona. To me, he's the wild card of this whole thing because you know what Gio practically gives you outside of last night. You know what Scherzer gives you. You're starting to get an idea of what Tanner Roark gives you. And I think, to me, you need Steven Strasburg to be dominant. You're not going to get a game like he had Wednesday every night, but, I mean, that was vintage Steven Strasburg. When he's healthy, he has the potential to throw that well. But overall, I like all the call-ups they made. Again, they're going to make more call-ups. The Syracuse season ends Monday, so you'll see Bautista, you'll see Stevenson, you'll see Sanchez, you'll see Severino. The list will grow on and on. A.J. Cole will come up again. But I want to keep an eye here on Austin Adams, and I wrote about him today. 25 strikeouts over his last 10. I mentioned it last night a little bit. 38 strikeouts since the second half of the Syracuse season. I'm not going to say throw him in high-leverage situations, but that's a situation where I think he'll do better with a second chance. One other move I would question Baker on before we get into the out-of-town scoreboard. 7th inning, 2 outs. I understand leaving Tanner Roark in to hit because he's been throwing the ball so well. You had Taylor and Lobaton had bad at-bats in that point. You haven't worked the pitch count up against Nelson. To me, I'm going, I know maybe Rendon had a complete day off and wasn't supposed to play. Maybe that's the reason. I would have pinch hit Rendon or pinch hit Lind. Yes, you run the risk of your bullpen giving up extra runs, but at some point, you might even give Tanner Roark a breather because he seems to throw 100 pitches every game. So you have to keep that in mind. And you're more than likely against Nelson getting a guy at the plate where if he makes a mistake, you crush one, it's 1-1. With Roark, you're practically nearly giving away an out. And I don't really like that strategy. Now, if Nelson had thrown more pitches in the 7th, then hit Roark because you know Nelson's coming out. And give Dusty credit for intentionally walking Garcia to get Nelson out of the game. But that's where one decision I would kind of disagree with Baker on. I think he should have used the pinch hitter. There is depth on the bench. I think you could have made that move. Maybe Weeder's injury affects that a little bit. But I did not like the call by Dusty on that one. So we go to the out-of-town scoreboard, and yes, the Verlander deal did happen last night, and I got to give a lot of props to Jeff Luhnow for pulling that off. I mean, you give up Franklin Perez, Daz Cameron, Jake Rogers, 3 of their top 11 prospects, but they're able to get Verlander to avoid the vesting option, which helps them out money-wise, and I think he's going to be huge in the playoffs. When you throw Verlander, Keuchel, and McCullers when he's healthy, that's a good 1, 2, 3. I still think they're the favorite, but I think it's only slight. I think Cleveland, who's starting to play really well right now, and you have Kluber, Carrasco, Salazar, Andrew Miller is going to get healthy. Their offense with Jay Bruce and Edwin Encarnacion is better than it was last year. Michael Brantley's, who knows with him, but I think with Francona, their postseason experience, it's really close between Houston and Cleveland. And the Indians, they can hit Chris Sale. They've seen Verlander many times. I think the Indians are starting to get closer and closer to being the best team in the American League. I need to see Houston with Correa back. I think and he's supposed to be back on Sunday. But I think you look at the American League and the gap between Houston, Cleveland, and Boston is wide compared to the wild card. As opposed to the National League, where I think if Arizona or Colorado or Milwaukee have a chance, I think, to compete. You're seeing what Milwaukee can do against Washington. 2 really good performances by the Brewers, and I think they're legitimate. They just can't catch a break because the Cubs just seem to beat up in Atlanta, so they can't gain ground in the Central. So let's take a look at some of the scores right now. Let's look at some games in progress first. And, of course, the one that Milwaukee fans are watching out in Colorado. Diamondbacks lead 4-2 in the top half of the 7th. RBI by A.J. Pollock and J.D. Martinez in that one. So Arizona gets 5 innings from Taijuan Walker. He struck out 10. So, again, if the Rockies lose, then Milwaukee is just a game and a half back for that National League wild card. Angels down 9-4 in the 7th inning at Texas, so they just tacked on another run. Brandon Phillips in the lineup tonight. Albert Pujols is 3 for 4 at 4 RBIs. You have Mike Trout, who's got a pair of hits. Justin Upton's 1 for 4. So the Angels trying to mount a rally here, and we'll get into why that's important in a second. So they're down 9-4 right now. Blue Jays and Orioles, no score in the top of the 12th. Huge game for Baltimore. Trying to find a way to gain a game in the wild card race as well. And Minnesota down 7-4 to Kansas City in the bottom of the ninth. Looking around the division, again, the Cubs keep their lead in the NL Central. They beat Atlanta 2-0. John Lackey goes 7 innings, 3 hits. He struck out 5. Mike Fulton-Ellis took the loss for Atlanta. Kyle Schwarber and Ian Happ with the lone RBIs for the Cubs, and Happ's been on a tear this week. Philadelphia, as we mentioned earlier, they beat the Marlins 2-1, so the magic number down to 14 for the Nats to clinch the East. Philly rallied with 2 runs in the top half of the 9th inning. RBIs by Jorge Alfaro and Andres Blanco. Marlins had the Major League debut for Dylan Peters, and he pitched well. 7 innings, 3 hits, 8 strikeouts, 3 walks, but Brad Ziegler blew the save in the 9th. And Brian Anderson, their rookie third baseman, he made his debut, and he went 1 for 3. Also have Tampa Bay beat the White Sox 3-1. Cleveland, as I mentioned, they actually played a doubleheader against Detroit and swept them. And the other big news of the National League tonight, Clayton Kershaw back in the Dodgers rotation, and he has been, well, vintage Clayton Kershaw so far. No score at bottom of the 4th. Kershaw, 3 2/3, 1 hit, 4 strikeouts. And he's going to have a chance to sort of increase that Cy Young candidacy, although I think Max Scherzer has the edge. And looking at the District on Deck Bowl, the Red Sox beat the Yankees 4-1 tonight. Doug Fister, former National, pitched great. 7 innings, 1 run, 4 hits. He struck out 5, gave up a run in the first inning and was great after that. Sonny Gray took the loss, gave up 3 home runs. Eduardo Nunez, Andrew Benintendi, and Hanley Ramirez all hit homers for Boston. So Red Sox lead back to 5.5. And the Angels just cut it to 9-6. So remember, if the Yankees now with the loss, if the Angels rally and win, they're a half game behind in the wild card, and you got Baltimore creeping up, so it's getting really tight between all those teams in the wild card race. Also, I made a mistake last night. Jack Flaherty's making his debut tonight for St. Louis as a roster call-up, and he's getting a rude awakening tonight against the Giants. San Francisco leading 5-2 in the 3rd. So we're just going to look to see if we have any tweets from Dusty Baker before we look at the minor league scoreboard. Not seen anything yet, so let's talk about the minors. Not a great night all around, but Syracuse lost to Buffalo 4-0. Jacob Turner, not a bad game. 5 innings, 3 runs, 4 hits, but he did walk 4 and struck out 3 in the loss. Only 3 hits for the Chiefs, 1 by Stevenson, 1 by Pedro Severino, and 1 by Irving Falou. So the Chiefs dropped to 53 and 86. Remember, most of these minor league seasons end on Monday. Harrisburg lost to Altoona 6-5, but Victor Robles did get in the lineup tonight and did have a pinch hit, base hit. So I believe that extends his hit streak to 17 games, which, considering he's ending his year on a great note, remember he'll head to the Fall League next month. 3 RBIs for Jose Marmolejos. He's up to 66 on the season. And Taylor Gashu made his Double-A debut tonight, but he went 0 for 5. Matthew Crownover took the loss, 2 runs, 5 hits, struck out 3, and walked 3 over 5 innings. He drops to 1-7. Potomac lost in walk-off fashion to the Frederick Keys 3-2. Daniel Johnson did have 2 hits at the top of the order. He's hitting .304 with the Peanuts. Jake Knoll and Ian Sagdahl with RBIs in this one. The Joan Baez got the start, 4 1/3, 2 runs, 7 hits, but he walked 5, struck out 3, still got the no decision. Jorge Pantoja took the loss, 2 innings, 1 run, 3 hits. He struck out 3 and walked 1 out of the bullpen. On the reverse side, Hagerstown gets a walk-off win over Lexington, 5-4. Walk-off hit by Aldrin Corridor. 2 more hits for Carter Kieboom tonight. A 3-run shot by Nick Banks in the first, and Oliver Ortiz, a home run, his 3rd of the season. Sam Held got the win out of relief with a scoreless 9th inning. Jonathan Ramirez got the start, 4 1/3, 3 earned runs on 3 hits, struck out 5 and walked 4. Down in the New York Penn League, the Auburn Doubledays lost to West Virginia 8-6. Lone home run for the Doubledays coming from Chance Shepard. His 6th of the season, he went 2 for 4. Janer Baez went 2 for 3. And the loss in this one goes to Angel Guillen. 3 innings, 8 runs, but only 1 earned. So you give 8 runs, but only gets charged with 1. On 5 hits, struck out 2 and walked 1. Doubledays made 5 errors in this game. How about the bullpen though? 6 innings, 1 hit between David Smith, Jared Brasher, and Jake Cousins. Which, by the way, if that name sounds familiar, he is related to Kirk Cousins. And the GCL Nats are going to be in the postseason, but they lost to the GCL Marlins 6-0 today. Juan Soto did go 0 for 3 with a walk in his rehab stint. Kelvin Gutierrez 1 for 3 with a double, but not much else for the offense. Jose De Los Santos gave up 4 runs in the third of an inning. He took the loss. Carlos Acevedo went 3 innings, 1 hit, struck out 2 in the start. Now, the GCL Nats are going to play on Sunday in a 1-game semifinal. If they win, they'll go to a best-of-3 championship series. That's how their playoffs shake out. I have an article coming up tomorrow on the site. I'll talk more about it. And congratulations goes out to Josh Johnson, who was named GCL Manager of the Year. So definitely a good thing for him, as he's had a good season with the Rookie League Nationals affiliate. So Seth asked me in the first round, who would I rather play, Cubs or Brewers? There's a lot of pros and cons to both. I'd rather play Milwaukee. And I think the reason is I'd rather play the team with the fewest postseason experience, because you played the Cubs. They were there last year. They won the whole thing. So and I think Joe Madden has the managerial edge on Dusty Baker. I'm not quite sure about Craig Counsell, although I think he's done a nice job. I think there's more pros to playing Milwaukee than there is Chicago. Even though the Nats have held their own with the Cubs this year, I think you're likely going 5 with the Cubs, because with Quintana, with Lackey, Lackey might not start because you have Arrieta, Lester. I mentioned Quintana, Hendricks. Wade Davis has been perfect in the ninth inning. Although Corey Knebel, I think you have to put him in the Wade Davis, Kenley Jansen conversation. He's arguably been, you can make a case for him as the best closer in the NL this year. I'd rather play Milwaukee. But the Nats haven't hit Zach Davies and they haven't hit Jimmy Nelson. And that would be a little bit alarming to me, because those are 2 starters you'd see in a best of 5. But I'd rather play Milwaukee. Are the Tides going to make the minor league playoffs? No. I think AAA has been set already, Seth. I think it's Scranton against Rochester and Durham against Indy in their 14 playoff. Are the Brewers going to start the rookie tomorrow? So let's get into that. It's a Saturday night game, 7:10 Eastern first pitch. Ron will be with you tomorrow and Sunday to wrap up the series. You can catch the game on MASN 2, WUSA 9 in Washington. Max Scherzer goes for his 14th win, 13-5, the 2.21 ERA, and he goes up against, for Milwaukee, Woodruff 1-1 with a 1.62 ERA. He's one of their best pitching prospects. He has made a couple of starts at the big league level, so this isn't really his major league debut. He pitched against Colorado in his last start on the 19th, 4 2/3, 1 run, 5 hits, but only struck out 4 and walked 3. And Woodruff, in his 3 starts, has walked 8 guys, so he is going to put batters on base. He's not going to go that deep in the game in terms of pitch count. Only got about 98 this year. 11th round pick back in 2014. You always worry about if lack of major league experience is going to hurt the Nationals in this game, where they don't have much familiarity with him. But you also remember where the Nats had all those home runs against Michael Blazek, so it kind of works both ways. Woodruff, to me, could make a difference down the stretch for Milwaukee, but he also was not really on a 5-day schedule. He took a 10-day break in between the Twins and Rocky starts, and he's going to get about a 2-week break here. So you always wonder if the lack of getting into games is going to hurt him. Now he's had to use simulated games to get into, because there's been bad weather, of course, in the South. So hasn't been able to get into games, which I think maybe for the Nats, you have to take advantage of that early. I'm sure the offense is going to be motivated to get out there and kind of wipe the slate clean after tonight. And I think they've got the perfect guy to snap a losing streak, and that's getting Max Scherzer on the mound. And second half, I think he calmed a lot of the concerns from that neck injury, his last start against the Marlins, where he went 7 innings, 1 run, 5 hits. He struck out 10 and walked 2. Of course, he had the good outing against Milwaukee back on July 27th. That helps when you get 15 runs to back you up, but he did give up 1 run on 3 hits over 6 and struck out 9. So Scherzer's got that in his back pocket. Ryan Braun over 13 with 5 strikeouts, and Braun did get ejected from tonight's game. Guy to watch, though, Travis Shaw did homer against him earlier this year, and Neil Walker does have 3 home runs and 22 at-bats against Scherzer. But besides that, not much else doing for the rest of the Milwaukee lineup. They're a team, again, that's very aggressive in terms of speed, in terms of home run power. So you always worry if Scherzer leaves a fastball up in the zone, Milwaukee can take advantage of it. But I like the Nationals in this game. I think they've got the big edge here. And they'll get the win. The rookie was Michael Blazek. That the Nats face. Blazek isn't up here. I don't believe he's up. Woodruff, I think, is better than Blazek if you go by all the minor league reports. But I do think the Nats have the edge. I think they'll bounce back. Been a couple of rough games. I mean, they played well against contending teams this year, and that's a good thing going forward. So let's see what we have up on the site today. And I wrote an article on Austin Adams and what he's been doing, getting an opportunity to come back to the big league level. And Ron gets you updated with some September storylines that you need to follow this month. So you can check out that. I'm not going to tell you what the storylines are because you got to read them. So go to the website, check those out. Tomorrow, again, I have an article going up on the GCL Nats, some of the guys you need to know on that team as they prepare for their playoff run. Their season ends tomorrow, but again, they'll have the one-game semifinal on Sunday. And Ron's going to have something. I don't know what it is, but again, that's why you go to districtondeck.com and you check it out. And you can be surprised by what Ron usually comes up with something good. So you can find that out there. Follow me on Twitter at RickNader555. That's at RICK, letter I, Nader, like in Terminator, and 555. You can tweet us on Twitter at District on Deck. Like us on Facebook. Feel free to give us a like over there. And you can also like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. All of our DoDcast post games are here. So if you do miss a game and you wish you caught the post game, well, you have a chance all the time. All of our videos are there. We've done one for every game this season. So even if you want to just go back and check out a DoDcast from like June, you could do that too. So again, check that out. Seth says, I'm still saying best of 7 Nats are better than the Dodgers. I would love to see that. I think that would be a very competitive series. To me, though, you got to get by round 1. And this franchise has had a tough time getting by round 1. So I'm not looking ahead yet to the Dodgers. Right now, I think your focus has got to be on getting strong over the next month and beating whoever wins the Central. Right now, I think the Cubs are going to win the Central, but they do have 7 games left with Milwaukee. And I wouldn't want to play the Brewers right now. They had that huge win against the Cardinals on Wednesday where that Keon Broxton made a really great catch to save the game. And you can tell it's kind of giving them a springboard. I mean, this crowd was very electric at Miller Park. Felt like a playoff atmosphere. It's great to see the Brewers fans showing up because this team wasn't supposed to be good this year. And I think they've been one of the surprises like Colorado has been. The one kid I like, though, Josh Hader. This rookie left-hander, absolutely filthy. And you've got Hader with his fastball. Swarzak has done a nice job. Knabel's been really good. So they've kind of formed a good bullpen themselves, and Jacob Barnes has done a nice job here and there for Milwaukee. So I think their bullpen is deep. I think it's deeper than Chicago's, even with Justin Wilson. I think Wilson and Davis are good, but really outside of that, I kind of like Milwaukee and what they've been doing. And you go with Knabel and you put Knabel, Jansen, and Davis together, and it's pretty close. That's how great those closers have been this season. Judo says that Nats have finally solved their closer problem. Blake trying. Oh yeah, that's funny. So there you go. There's the good quote there by Judo from this year, about 5 months ago. So it's amazing how a season can do twists and turns. Because you have an injury, and that's what makes, I think, the national season so impressive. That different guys have stepped up at different points. So like Defoe, Goodwin, Taylor. You look at the pitching staff and guys that have stepped, the bullpen especially, Matt Albers, Albert Perez. I mean, you never know who's going to be that unsung hero throughout the regular season. Howie Kendrick, when all the guys were hurt, stepping up. I think Adrian Sanchez, when he came up, did a nice job. So a lot of the depth guys have played huge dividends this year. And I'm sure the Nats would still be a good team, but they wouldn't be as good without these guys. Amazing that they're even 81-53. That's just the testament to their depth this year. And again, they do have the big 3. And Seth, you were right about the bullpen. We always like to address that. I'd like the Nats' big 3. I'm not saying Milwaukee's is better. I think the Nats have, with Kinsler, Madsen when he gets back, and Doolittle, one of the better trios in the league. Milwaukee's pretty close. Milwaukee's pretty close. You watch the last 2 nights with Swarzak and Hader and Knebel. They're close. Dodgers, of course, have Jansen, who, again, that's how, when you think about the Nats and the whole Kershaw thing in the back of their mind, and right now I think Kershaw's lined up to pitch against the Nats in a couple weeks. You have Kershaw in the back of your mind if you're a Nats player, and Jansen from last year getting 8 outs. Was it 7 outs? Was it either 7 or 8 outs? I think it was 7 outs in Game 5. Those 2 guys are in the back of your mind. Have to be. The same way I think when you look at a different sense, Davies is in the back of their mind, and Nelson's in the back of their mind. You would think the Nats would love to get another shot at them, but those 2 pitchers, if Milwaukee's going to get to the postseason, it's going to be those 2 guys that do it. And Anderson as well, but the Nats won't see Anderson this week. So it's Scherzer against Woodruff tomorrow. I think Edwin Jackson and Matt Garza on Sunday, so you might see a lot of runs there. I'll probably be back with you guys on Monday or Tuesday against Miami. I've not decided that yet, but I'll be back for the Marlins series at some point. Seth says, Zimmerman has slowed down, or is it just me? I think he's been better. I mean, he definitely went through that long slump and then bounced back from it. I think you look at Zimmerman's numbers. He is last 7 games before tonight, 5 for 17. So throw that in there. He's 6 for his last 20. So not terrible numbers. Definitely had that long slump where you're all wondering, okay, what was wrong with him? Hit just 233 in August. I think he's getting better swings. I did like the fact that he had the good first pitch single against Knebel in the 6th tonight. I just think when you look at the postseason, again, if Bryce Harper's out, that puts so much pressure on Ryan Zimmerman to deliver. It puts a lot of pressure on Murphy to deliver. And Ron and I, again, as I said earlier, have this back and forth. He thinks they'll be okay if Harper doesn't play. And obviously we both want Bryce Harper to play. I would be worried if Bryce Harper's not out there game 1 of the NLDS. I think he makes that much a difference, and I think he helps out Zimmerman. All right, so Judo's got the bold prediction of Jose Lobaton hitting a walk-off grand slam in the NLDS. I like your optimism. And Judo, Seth, you guys know I'm optimistic normally. I'm just in a very negative mood on the DoDcast tonight because that was a really frustrating ball game. But I just don't see, to me, Lobaton, if he doesn't improve, and Pedro Severino does something in September, I would make him the backup catcher in the playoffs. I think I've seen more from him, as great as Lobaton's home run was in the LDS last year. I think he has been a negative this season. Has not really done much of the plate. Struggled a little bit in the field. And I think you got to give one of these young catchers a shot. So I think his roster spot, I don't think is a lock, or at least it shouldn't be a lock. Maybe it is, but the bench will be interesting because they're going to have a lot of tough bench decisions. And maybe Severino or Reed push it to where they get a shot. Reed, maybe not so much. I think he's just here for the experience. Severino, I think he's going to be under the microscope when he comes up here. There's a lot of fans expect. I think a lot of people expect him to be further along in his development track than he is. And then Seth says he got Wilmer Difo hitting a walk-off against the Yankees. See, I don't even think the Yankees are going to get there. But I like, again, Seth, I like your optimism too. Yankees got a long way to go before they even think about the World Series. I think that's how inconsistent they've been. But besides the point, I'm not, again, I think you look at these 2 games to wrap it up. I don't really, you can be frustrated about some points, but also Milwaukee's a good team. I think you have to give the Brewers a lot of credit. Their defense has been good. They're playing the shifts correctly. They're getting good pitching, timely hitting. So Nats aren't getting much of it in this series. And Trey Turner is still trying to manufacture runs by himself, and it's still so much fun to watch him run the bases. So I'll be back with you this weekend. I hope all of you guys have a great Labor Day weekend. I'll probably be back with you Monday or Tuesday again. I'm not so sure yet, but I hope you guys enjoy all your Labor Day weekend festivities. College football is back. Ron and I, of course, enjoyed the U.S. Open in tennis, so if that's your thing, watch that. And, of course, catch up on the Nats baseball. So for all of us here at District on Deck, I'm Ricky Keeler saying have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And Ron will be back with you tomorrow night as the immaculate one, as Judo says, Mad Max Scherzer takes on Milwaukee in Game 3 of the 4-game set.